What if I told you that you could be rated at 70%, but get paid at 100%? That's right. This is something that the VA is not going to go out of its way to tell you about. It's called a TDIU. Josh, what is a TDIU?
So TDIU is temporary disability, individual unemployability.
That's a lot of words.
It's a lot of words for an acronym.
Okay, so this is a very specific thing that comes out of the VA, right?
So this is there is its own actual form that you must fill out. And it's a lot of homework, by the way, for the veteran.
Yeah, so tell me a little bit about what a TDIU is and why it exists in the VA.
Okay, so TDIU is basically, it's saying that your condition prevents you from working. So in that condition, there's some requirements you have to meet, which we'll get into a little bit later. But it's in place for somebody who cannot reach 100%, but they cannot work.
What do you mean by they cannot work? And what kind of work history needs to go into that? What kind of little things do some of the criteria that goes into that working aspect?
You're going to have to show some sort of history of that. Let's use an example of somebody with PTSD and hypervigilance and depression, anxiety. They get panic attacks and they can't get to 100%, but yet it's debilitating enough for them to not be able to. And additional thought too is on that Social Security account, it's going to show your job history. So they want to see if you're maintaining a job or if you're a job hopper. And that's a lot of cases. That's what happens with most people with PTSD or pretty much any kind of mental health illness. They're going to show that throughout the years, past 10 years, they've had 11 jobs. Why? It's
Why?
because they're
Right.
And that's what the VA is going to look at.
And that's what this TDIU form allows us to do, allows the veteran to do, right? It uses that service-connected disability and shows that they are having trouble securing or maintaining a job. And that form allows them to get paid at that 100%, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So we keep talking about this form. What is the form? What's this very, specific numbered form that everybody has to know about? Do you know the number?
So it's going to be VA form 21-8940. That's going to be the TDIU form.
Okay, 218940.
21-8940.
So you have to start with this form, right?
Yes, the veteran must start with this form because this is a pretty much like you explain your job history, education history. It's homework. It's a very long form.
Yes, it seems like it. Will your last employer fill out part of it? Is there anything to do with their current employer? Or you said something about their job history and things. Do they need to get in contact with people like that too?
They're most likely going to need, if they were terminated, termination letters. There's also going to be verification from the employment because the VA will call these employments and ask why you left.
Yeah, so we're trying to connect that this disability, whatever it may be, is preventing them or hindering them from working at that particular job.
Because they're going to have documentation about missing work, or he's complained about let's say if it's a back injury, they're going to be pretty much like collaborators to the story. He was constantly late, or say PTSD, constantly late, showed up drunk, like things like all come together as a story, as a collaboration story.
So these are all things like medical statements, employer statements, buddy letters. That's a big hot topic, right?
Yes.
So all these things are going to come together in this form. And when you submit it to try to get this TDIU, all that's going to come together, right?
Yes.
Awesome. Where does like a medical opinion letter come into play?
With the medical opinion letter, so this is going to be, your nexus letter. The provider's going to have to look at the form. And so on that form, be very descriptive on why you can't work. Just say, you can't say, I can't work. Okay, right. but why? Like, give the conditions why. They're going to make a professional medical opinion stating that the symptoms prevents this person from work. Or if it's a musculoskeletal, this is what this is the range of motion. This is how far they can bend over. This is how much weight they can pick up. These all things go into factor, and you're going. The best thing is to have is a medical opinion on that, because it's going to be just like Social Security. TDIU is very strict. I'm going to give a scenario here. So if a veteran is 30 years old, 70% PTSD, and they can't, and they want to do not working, it's going to raise a red flag a little bit because you're 30 years old. The VA doesn't want you not being at work because being sedentary for such a long time and not working causes a lot of problems along down the road, and it actually makes PTSD worse.
So in this particular example, all of these documents need to be organized, right? If you want to do this, which is fine, then you need to have all of these letters, all of this documentation from past employers, current employers, buddy letters, medical opinion letters, nexus letters, whatever it may be, on that stack ready to go.
Somebody can be at 90% and they just can't, they'll be at 88% rounded up. Right. Well, because of that, they need to get an additional 60%. Where are they going to find a 60%?
Yeah.
Sometimes you just can't get it.
There's nothing there.
There's nothing there.
Yeah.
Then that's where you got to do the TDIU.
I think what we're saying is most TDIU claims fail not because they're not disabled enough, that they're not, service connected enough, right? It's more about the organization of the paperwork and how they can prove that this disability is hindering what they're doing for employment. Right?
Yeah.
So Josh, how is that different from like 100% P&T or some of these other benefits that are out there that are kind of comparable to a TDIU?
So in most cases, let's say for example, we're going to go back to the 30-year-old. If you say that one condition prevents you from working, they're going to want to evaluate that and see, can we get this individual to 100% alone, P&T, which 100% P&T just means that you're permanent and total. You're not going to get re-examined. Yep. It's forever.
Right.
Now there's 100% there's 100%, which means if you have cancer can be treated so that you get a reevaluation every year.
Mm-hmm.
Same thing's going to happen with TDIU.
Okay.
It's a temporary, so that you get reevaluated over and over and over to keep that TDIU.
Right. So P&T, like 100% P&T is permanent and total.
Yep. You're
and
done.
You can work on P&T, right?
Yep. You can absolutely work on 100% P&T.
So this is kind of totally different. It's still 100%,
right?
But it's not P&T. This is TDIU is something that every year they're going to evaluate you. They're going to make sure that this disability is still hindering what you're doing, what you're trying to do in your field of work, all these types of things. So,
absolutely.
So it's kind of two totally different things. But I at least wanted to hit on that to understand that it's 100% in this, 100% in that, but they are two totally different things.
Totally separate tied ratings.
Right. TDIU. What's it stand for?
Total Disability of Individual Unemployment.
All right, Josh, tell me, can you work or have an income while on a TDIU?
Yes. So here's the thing with this on TDIU and working. It's a little bit of a gray area. You can make up to $18,000 a year. This also raises a little bit of a flag because you have to report any income, no matter what it is. If you do side jobs, you make me a table. And you charge me $500 to that table. Yeah. You must report that,
right?
Or it will get taken away, and will get TDIU ever again.
Right.
All these things got to get reported, but you can still do it, and you can make $18,000. But like I said, it raises that flag because what are you doing with that $18,000? How are you getting that $18,000?
Yeah,
you're working,
and I think that's why it makes why this whole TDIU thing is so hard. Because you have to justify that, right? You have to, and really what we're trying to do is, this is, again, a condition, a disability that is hindering your ability to work, right? Is it possible to get? 100%. A lot of people have a lot of trouble with things, right? We're not saying that it's not possible, but just understand that you have to have all of these things in place. So while we're talking about that, let's talk about the eligibility criteria of a TDIU.
There is some criteria that you must meet. 60% individual condition.
Okay.
That's the condition that will be the reason why this cannot work.
So one single condition, 60%.
One single condition at 60.
Okay, that's number one.
Or you could be 70 total, but one of those conditions that must prevent you from working has to be at 40%. So if you're saying if you're 70% total overall and you're trying to get your right knee and your right knee's rated at 20%, no.
It's not going to work.
It's not going to work because that individual one the reason why you cannot work must be 40%.
And these are things that VA is going to look at right off the rip.
Right off the rip. If you don't meet the criteria, you will get the fastest denial you'll ever see.
So make sure you hit those criterias. Okay. Are there any other criteria?
So there is one that it doesn't matter what age you are. So you could be 80 years old and still apply for TDIU because you cannot work.
Yeah.
And some 80-year-olds still work. I mean, you
see them all the time.
I see. Do an example. Some of these doctors, they're up there in age.
Yeah.
75 and up. If they want a TDIU, they could do it.
Sure.
Even though
as long as they meet that criteria.
As long as they meet that criteria, it doesn't matter the age.
Let's say you've met the criteria, you have the percentages, you're good to go. How do we win this thing, dude?
It's going to be the doctor explaining the conditions of why cannot work. Clear medical evidence showing why.
Yeah.
That they can't work.
Exactly. This is where our team comes in at Xterra Health. We've written hundreds of these letters for TDIU cases. And the VA takes that medical rationale, puts it all right on top of the stack, right? And puts everything together so the VA can connect this disability to them not being able to work. But let's talk a little bit more about how there are some things that will help strengthen that claim. Josh, is there anything else we need to know about how to strengthen this claim other than a medical opinion letter or nexus letter?
Chronicity of medical documentation.
Right.
So it's going to be constantly seeing a mental health provider because it's going to be to be honest, most TDIU claims are going to be most likely mental health. That's the most common that we're coming through. They're going to want to see those therapy notes. They want to make sure that you're still getting seen.
Yeah, they want to see a series of paperwork. Absolutely.
Because you want to avoid having any gaps.
And again, every year they're going to review this.
They're going to constantly every year.
So it's not
review.
like you have this TDIU claim or you're good.
And it doesn't mean that you're going to get a CAP exam every time. They just review it and then just continue.
Right.
And continue.
Okay, so we've researched some common misconceptions about TDIU. Okay, here are some. I have to be totally bedridden to get a TDIU. True or false?
Absolutely false.
Okay, why?
Let's say somebody with severe back injury. They got the good old lean on them and they can't lift heavy weights.
Right.
Well, you can't work. How are you supposed to work like that? But you could still get around and go shopping.
Still do something.
You could still go out. Yeah, you could still do other tasks.
So you don't have to be bedridden if you're on a TDIU.
You don't be stiff as a board laid in a bed.
If I'm on a TDIU, I can't volunteer or go to school.
This is going to be false.
Okay.
So with that, if you're volunteering, that's a volunteer role. You're not making any money. It's not. You don't have to report that. You only report if you're making sort of money. Now, going to school, this happens a lot. Let's get down to give an example. So I had a friend of mine who was TDIU because he had no skills, no trade skills. His only trade skill that he really knew was know how to drive a bulldozer.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, he had one of the worst backs I've ever seen. He was hunched over all the time because he was a bulldozer. He drove a bulldozer for 20 years.
Yeah.
So
he got this claim, all the paperwork worked out.
So
he got TDIU.
So he got TDIU, and then he got out. Okay. He got out of his job, and then he didn't want to be fully TDIU for the rest of his life because he wanted to work.
Yeah.
He went back to school. So he went to school. Now with that, you could still get paid if you still got the GI Bill or the Montgomery or the Forever, whichever one that you have. There's 3 criterias. You could still go to school and get paid for going to school, and you don't have to report it because it's VA money. So VA is already going to know that you're making that
So
money.
it doesn't go towards that 18,000.
But it doesn't go toward, it's not counted as that. It's, you could still go to school because you're trying to better yourself to get to a job where maybe you can actually sit and go.
Yeah, and the VA probably wants that, right? They're trying to push for that.
They're going to want you to work because being sedentary, even if you don't have a mental health rating, you're soon going to get one.
Yeah, right.
Sitting at home all the time.
Yeah.
It's going to drive you nuts. I can't.
No.
For the life of me, sit at home. There's going to be so many home projects.
Yeah.
Because I'm like,
The wife's gonna.
I'm going to have a honey-do list that's longer than my arm.
Yeah. So another misconception is that after 5 years, a TDIU automatically becomes permanent. True or false?
False. So the VA is going to be the deciding factor. It's not an automatic.
Right.
The VA will make the decision, and most likely not.
Yeah.
It's most likely going to continue to be evaluated.
So we've already touched upon it, but if I work, let's say I still need some income, right? I got a family, I got all this stuff going on. I can still work on a TDIU, right?
Correct.
But it's a gray area. Don't make over a certain amount of money. What's that
It's
money?
18. It's
18,000.
like around 18,000. It probably has changed at this time because it's getting ready to be that new fiscal year. So it's going to be bumped up. It always gets bumped up because of inflation.
Right. I think the VA's verbiage is that they want you below the federal poverty line.
Correct.
So whatever that
check is.
Yeah, I like
right now it's like 18,000.
So let's say everything's fine. You get this TDIU. You're able to get educated. You know, maybe you want to change a job. All these types of things. They give it to you for a year. Great. You want to go back to work. What happens to that TDIU claim?
Okay, so if you go back to work, and it's for 12 months. So say if you find a job, you go through school, find a job, after 12 months, it's going to get cut.
Okay.
And they're going to drop you back to your original rating.
Okay.
So if you were at that 70 total with the 40, you're going to go back to it, to your original. You're not going to have to owe any money, but you're just going to go back to your old amount.
So what if you do like a trial period, like a probationary period or something like that you work for 2 or 3 months just to kind of try it out while you're on this TDIU claim for 12 months?
So that's not going to automatically disqualify you because you're making an active attempt to try to work again. And the VA is going to recognize that. And they're going to say, okay, you try to do, I'm on TDIU. And it's for mental health and I get anxiety. And I'm like, you know what? Things have gotten better. I've been seeing mental health. I'm on medications. I think I'm okay now. And then I start a new job, kicks right back in. And then it goes in overdrive. And I'm like, never mind. I can't do this.
Yeah.
The VA is going to recognize that. You're going to have to explain it because you're working.
Right.
But as long as you use that form, the 214138, that's your personal statement. You use that to your advantage, and because you always want to explain.
So you get all these things together, right? You get vocational statements, you get things from your employer, buddy letters, personal letters, notes, things like that from your employer, from your family, all these things. Again, we're trying to connect that your disability hinders your ability to do work or do the job that you are currently doing. That's what a TDIU is, right?
Correct.
So you get all of that stuff put together. You can also get a nexus letter,
Yes.
okay, from Xterra Health maybe, but put all of that together, and then that's going to help you win our case. So let's sum this up. A TDIU exists for veterans whose disabilities keep them from working. So even if their rating isn't 100%, they could be at 100% with a TDIU claim.
Yes, that's correct. Yes.
If you're unsure where to start, where do you go?
Your best asset is going to be a claims rep, a VSO. These people are going to help you along because, like I said, that form is literally thick of homework.
Right.
And it's very daunting and it's very confusing.
Right.
I always make sure you try to get some sort of advocate to try to help you along because they're the ones that are the subject matter experts on this.
Yeah.
And they're going to be able to walk you through line by line by line by line.
So the first thing is get organized.
You must
find a veteran service officer, a VSO, and potentially get that nexus letter, get that medical opinion that's going to tie all of that stuff, all of that medical stuff that you have going on, the service connection part of it, the vocational part of it.
Yes.
And then get that nexus letter to put on top of that. And all that's going to come together. All right. And that's what we're saying is if you're organized and this is all put together, we never guarantee anything, right? But we say that with the VA, it's going to be a lot easier for them to understand the connection with that if you have all of these things together.
Like you're coming in with a loaded deck.
Yeah.
If you're just trying to do it right off the rip, you're going to go through this battle, because TDIU is pretty strict.
Yeah.
So if you come in with a loaded deck, you already are above the game.
I mean, a TDIU can it's really the bridge between surviving and thriving with your disability, right? This is something that's really hindering your day-to-day life, your ability to make money.
Yes.
To work. We deal with these cases all the time.
Oh,
yeah, all the time.
We were just, before the podcast started, we were just talking about how I have a consult later on today, about how to file a TDIU. And so I'm going to try to walk them through and tell them exactly how it's going to go. So, but I'm going to, before we end on this, TDIU, if you get granted TDIU, immediately file for Social Security disability, because both of them are so strict. So TDIU, you're going to have a higher chance. Not only are you going to have a higher chance of getting Social Security disability, but you also go up into a tier. So this is a little bit of insider information here, but there's a tier system that the Social Security Administration uses. If you have TDIU, you get jumped up in line.
Okay.
And so you should get your decision in 3 months, not a year.
Mm-hmm.
If you have TDIU, not a lot of people know this.
Yeah.
It's literally like you're flagged into the system. Like, say if you're Ohio, that all Social Security goes through Columbus. Once Columbus figures out you're a vet and you're on TDIU, boom, it's instant. It's 3 months. You're getting a letter.
Yeah, and it kind of varies from state to state. But the idea is,
but I'm just
once you get this TDIU, it now puts you in a whole different area for Social Security.
Let me use an example. So I'm TDIU. You get the 100% I get $3,800 or $3,900, and then my Social Security disability. So they base it on your 3 years. It's a different demon with Social Security, but I'm not a guru at this because that is a whole different department I've ever went with. but you can look at it. You can kind of see what you're going to make. And on top, so if I was getting TDIU, on top of that, I was going to get $2,300 a month for Social Security disability. And then you got your dependents that go in there. So you got potential to unlock a lot of stuff if you truly cannot work. Yeah. And this Social Security disability is going to fill that gap in.
Right.
So now you're going to be, instead of making $3,900, now you're upwards towards like $5,000-$6,000 that you're making. Right. And that's a lot of people's income for the month.
I know.
A household.
That's what I mean. This is going from surviving to thriving.
Absolutely.
This is life-changing stuff.
No family should have to suffer because, say you injured your back in jumping out of an airplane, and compression fracture like an accordion, and you can't do anything. You don't have a very good life.
Yeah.
And then you add the stress about you're adding stress because you can't work.
Yeah.
And you can't provide for the family, and that's really gonna hurt.
So listen, if you think that you may be eligible for a TDIU, schedule a consult with Xterra Health today. We handle these claims all the time.
If today's video has resonated with you, or you have a battle buddy of yours that this should be applied to, by all means, reach out to us and get us going, because you have no idea how life-changing that this could be for you. I'd like to thank my co-host here, Andrew, for joining us today and talking about a very good topic about TDIU. Next week, we're going to be talking about the good old pyramiding.
Yes.
So this is going to be a big topic here, but tune in for next week. Until then, stay mission ready.